Hey everybody, and welcome to the Wheels Off podcast. This is episode number 7. So thank you for all those who have been through this learning experience with me. But my name is Kay Wheeler. I'm your host here, GM of the SimNFL Tennessee Titans and athletic director of the Sim College Football and Basketball University of Wisconsin Badgers. And we got some stuff to talk about. We got week 2 of the college football and NFL seasons. Not a lot about recruiting yet because people haven't signed. Maybe some discussions there. Had a couple trades this last week in the NFL. And then we had some amazing stuff. We're going to go back over last week's top 10 games. We're going to look at players of the week. And we're going to look at the upcoming games plus the brand new week 2 AP top 25 poll. 4 new people this week. A couple people dropped out and one is barely hanging on by their fingertips as they're going off the cliff. So we will talk about that here in just a moment. But hey, like I do every week, I try to highlight a new artist. This week, I'm highlighting Milano and his song Throw a Fit. If you're on the YouTube, you can see the QR code to access his video for this song and see his other work as well. And for those of folks on the audio only podcasts on Spotify, Apple Music, and the other places, which we'll show at the end, I will put a link to his work in the description for you as well. And for those people interested in what the Simulation Football Association is, we will have contact information to our website, available teams, how to get a team, and also our Discord. So please stick around to the end for that as well. And let's get going. We got a lot to talk about. First things first, though, is college football. Yeah, week 2 is going on here. We've got recruiting starting to kick up. Really is interesting talking with some of the other coaches and GMs in the league and seeing what's going on with how people are approaching the math behind strong favorites in contention and unlikelies on how things go. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. What's your way of doing this? Maybe put this in the Discord or PM me. What's kind of your approach? Do you 20 bomb on several people, on 5 people, or do you do 20, 20, 20, and then split the other 40 points between 4 other people at 10 apiece or 8 other people at 5 apiece? Or do you play the math game of knowing if I do 20 this week, I can do 15 the next week and still stay in contention? What's your math? How do you do it? What's your approach? Don't spill secrets. For God's sakes, don't tell me your plan. I really don't want to know your plan. But how do you do this? Are you a 20 bomber or you just spread points around? What's kind of your approach? So throw that up in Discord and let's have a little bit of a discussion about that. But also, who do you think Maximilian Howard's going to go to? Florida? Close to home. It would make sense. Or is Oregon going to come out of nowhere and steal him? Or is there a third person we don't know because they haven't put a scholarship on him yet? Be interesting to see where he goes. 5-star quarterback, where he goes. And other people like BJ Flash, several different people, a lot of people. And there's a couple teams. Actually, there's one team in particular, which we'll talk a little bit later, seems to be in on a lot of 5-star speed guys for receiver. So people pay attention to what's going on around you. But before we get going, we got to get into what happened last week. And there is some exciting stuff there. We saw Notre Dame had won the week before and slid like 4 or 5 slots down to 24. They had defending their home turf against a very tough Navy team, came out chucking the ball down the field. I mean, they were in their double wing, their spread triple option, and they were throwing it like it was the run and shoot. So I was excited to see Syndicate and his team doing that. But Navy came up short, losing 37-21. And then we see TCU. Number 6 TCU travels across the border into Louisiana and plays number 12 LSU in Death Valley in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and comes out victorious with a 17-14 victory over the Tigers. And then Kansas State, swipe it, and his Kansas State Wildcats travel to number 10 Texas State and beat those Wildcats 18-10. Human coach versus AI coach. But wow, 18-10. Nobody expected Kansas State to beat them. Pretty solid game. Defensive battle. A couple of miscues, but it was great. And then number 15, Oregon State, takes off, flies all the way to Louisville, Kentucky, to play number 13 in Louisville. Comes up just a little bit short, losing 27-35, but an amazing game and making the Pac-12 extremely tough this year to pay attention to. So if you're in the Pac-12, there's 5 teams, maybe 6 you need to really pay attention to, possibly even 7, depending on how certain things play out, but tough. Pac-12 is going to be, eating their own this year, which is traditional in their real life too. They beat each other up. That's why they're always out of playoff and national title contention. But is the SimFBA version going to be any different? Who knows? Let's take a look at that. USC wakes up, flies across country, deals with jet lag, comes out a little bit slow, but ends up beating Boston College back there in Massachusetts, 28-9. Boston College kind of kept things close that first quarter, but then Julian Longacre just took over the game. He took over the game and willed USC on, and just their depth and their talent overcame the jet lag, the time change, all that stuff, and did well. And I believe they come back. They're off this week because they have Stanford week 4. Can't remember if it's in Palo Alto, if it's down in LA, but they got Stanford week 4, so they got a week to kind of recover from this travel. And then Stanford, we talked about them. They traveled all the way back to Athens, Georgia, and played between the hedges and played number 9 Georgia at that time, losing 10-6 in a goalie washer of a game. Rain, wind, horrible conditions that will affect another game that we're going to talk about here in a moment as well. But the weather was nasty, and Stanford, who was number 19, played number 9 Georgia, played them close. It was ended up losing 10-6. So that was a good game. Definitely indicative of their position. I think that it's where they should stay. We'll take a look when we get to the AP Top 25 here in a little bit. And then we had the battle for Utah. Utah traveled to Utah State. Who's the better Utah person? Or as my friends in the LDS churches, who's the better Mormon? Utah comes out double winged as well. I believe they had four ball carriers over 50 yards, maybe closer to 100 each. I'll have to take a look at the numbers again, but that was pretty impressive that the double wing did pretty well. Maybe giving some viability to being the anti-meta of what's going on. But they end up losing 14-34. Utah State just kind of pulls away in the second half. I believe E-Wade runs a pro system there and was just able to overcome the double wing. The double wing gets behind, it can't catch up. And then the game of the day, one everybody had been talking about. This was number 1 Tennessee traveling down to Tallahassee, Florida, to play the number 2 Florida State Seminoles. Goalie washer, rain, wind, horrible conditions, but Doak Walker Stadium was packed. This was 1 versus 2. I believe this is the first time in the Simulation Football Association we've seen number 1 versus number 2 in this season, preseason, in season, or I think even in the bowl games. I don't think we've seen 1 versus 2. But Tennessee, everybody's talking about the talent of Florida State. The concern was, would Kirby have the coaching chops to take on Tennessee? And guess what? Tennessee overcame a lot of obstacles and puts up 40 points against number 2 Florida State's 21. And Brandon Savage, the quarterback, the sophomore quarterback, had a game. We're going to talk about him when we get to the player of the week here in a moment. But he had a game. The air raid, chuck it long. Don't care if you get sacked because you're going to get 50 yards a strike. Came out. And we'll talk about Savage here in a little bit. But this was 2 very good coaches, 2 very, very well-structured teams playing each other. And Tennessee to win by 19. Nobody expected that. A few of us were saying Tennessee would win because of coaching. We didn't expect a 19-point win. Nobody did. Not even T. Sweezy thought he was. And the best part about it is T. Sweezy put in the Discord, if he should win this game, he put this before the game played, if he should win this game, he would never talk bad about his team again. And guess what, T. Sweezy? I'm paying attention. I'm going to hold you to that. So will everybody else. No more downplaying your team. You got a talented team there, and you take advantage of that. And then to cap the night, we had Michigan traveling from the big house all the way over to UCLA and losing to number 3 UCLA 30-21 in a very close game. Hiram Marande did not have the numbers he had the week prior. But he still was very effective. Michigan did a good job, just didn't have the horses to contend with this team. So it was very good. But the surprise of the weekend was not number one versus number two. Yes, that was the game of the week. But the biggest surprise of the week, number 7, Alabama. This was their first game of the season. Traveled to Boulder, Colorado. They had to deal with 7,000-foot elevation. I don't know if they did anything to help out because the score is indicative of the fact that they probably weren't acclimatized. Colorado jumped out on them early and often. And in fact, Alabama didn't have their first down till the middle of the third quarter. That's how bad this 41-0 shellacking by the Buffalo over the Roll Tide. I would say something about another laundry detergent. I just don't know any other than Tide. Cheers, maybe Roll Cheers, whatever. But Alabama, number 7, did this last year, lost to a team not nearly as good as Colorado is this year, and came back, won national title. So they'll probably bounce back. That funk will have them going. But wow, nobody picked 41-0 over the defending national champs. Nobody. Not me, not them. I don't even think Bingo thought he would win by 41. But I'm glad he did. And I'll tell you right now, the Pac-12 between number 3 number 3 UCLA, number 4 USC, number 15 Oregon State, number 7 Cal, number 19 Stanford, Colorado. How good is Oregon going to be? How good is Arizona State, Arizona? Utah's in the mix. Huskies, who cares about nobody cares about the Huskies. Wazoo's going to be good. We know the Pac-12 is stacked. Tell you right now, SEC, who knows who's going to take that now? I think Florida's kind of got the lead along with Georgia. I think they're the two top, no pun intended, they're the top dog. Georgia is. Auburn's looking good. We'll talk about them here in just a moment as well. But those are last week's games of the week. This will be posted on the website as well, so you guys can get a chance to see this for those people who are listening on Spotify. So, player of the week. Usually I put 2 offensive players of the week. Hands down, there's only one to talk about. That's Brandon Savage, the sophomore quarterback for the University of Tennessee Volunteers. He goes out against number 2 Florida State in the rain in Tallahassee. Amazing crowd, packed, even with the bad weather, and puts up 635 yards passing on 44 for 69, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 14.5 yards per completion. That's a first down plus every time. And I think his quarterback rating is near perfect at 157.3. But this sophomore, his arm must be iced down like the pitchers do in Major League because he threw the ball a lot. It took advantage of a Florida State defense that was not prepared to handle this volume of passing. Yeah, they may have played dime defense and nickel defense a lot, but defensively, 2 guys here. Only one really worth mentioning of note is Mike Levert, the senior defensive tackle from Mississippi State, leading his Bulldogs over Southern Miss Golden Eagles, 31-28, 7 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 forced fumbles. An honorable mention is Chris Franklin, the defensive end from Eastern Carolina, but he was in a losing effort, so he gets smaller print this week. Mike Levert's the winner for defense. Even though Chris Franklin still put up good numbers, I know everybody's going to be paying attention to him for late first, early second, maybe mid-second round pick, depending on how he grades out at combines and pro days, but 7.5 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. He was right up there with Levert, but Levert led his team to victory. It's just how it is. So between Brandon Savage and Michael Levert, there's a lot of talent out there. But remember, I talked about this. This is kind of interesting about the offensive player of the week. Elijah Windelkin from Arkansas for week 1 out there with Francisco Diaz from Northwestern. I think Diaz had the better game week 1. And then last week it was Julian Longacre from USC and Hiram Morande from UCLA. I said, hey, quarterback, who's going to step up? This week it was sophomore Brandon Savage. 2 drafts from now, so 2026 draft, everybody's going to be gutting for this kid if he doesn't come out in 2025. Guarantee it. Everybody's going to be gutting for this kid. So those are your players of the week. Brandon Savage, quarterback from Tennessee, and defensive tackle Mike Levert from Mississippi State. Here we go. Let's get into this. Here is the week 2 top 25. AP poll, a lot of teams. Oregon State fell from 15, fell all the way out. Louisiana Tech moved up. Alabama slid from number 7 to number 32. Stanford slid from 19 out of the range to high 20s. Northwestern's there. Washington State's there. Those are all the people that got votes but didn't make the top 25. So let's start with number 25 and work our way up to number 14 for those folks on Spotify and on the audio. So at 25, we have Central Michigan. Bowling Green moves from 25 up to 24. Kentucky stays at 23. Houston at 22. Texas State, after their loss to Kansas State, drops from number 10 all the way down to number 21. Mississippi State jumps in at 20. They were on the bubble last week at like number 28 or 29. Make a big jump all the way up to number 20 after their win against Southern Miss. Boise State jumps in. They were in the middle last week, like low 30s. They jump all the way up to number 19. They're another new person, Mississippi State, Boise State, and then Colorado, after their trouncing of number 7 Alabama, jumps all the way to number 18. But you beat number 7, the defending national champion, by 41 at home, you get to be 19. If you'd beat them in Alabama by 41, you'd probably be top 10. Just not top 10, but pretty close to it. LSU drops all the way from 12 down to 17 after their loss. Texas is the 4th new team. They jump in at number 16. San Diego State finally gets their due. They've won again. Instead of sliding like they normally do, they jump all the way from 22 up to 15. So good to see San Diego State getting their due. And Wake Forest is at number 14. Let's do number 13 through number 6. So Notre Dame moves from 24 all the way up to 13 after their big win against Navy. Oklahoma slides up as well. Louisville, beating Oregon State, took them from number 13 to number 11. And Tulsa moves up to number 10. Auburn jumps up as well. Florida State slides from number 2 all the way down to number 8, moving California from 8 to 7. Baylor, even though they didn't play last week, they slide down to 6 from 5. And then Georgia moves from 9 up to number 5 after their win against Stanford. I know Georgia head coach is a little concerned. They got a big game this week. They're concerned that this may work against them. Texas Christian moves from 6 to 4. USC moves from 4 to number 3. That means UCLA moves from 3 to 2. And Tennessee is firmly at number 1 with 5 first place votes. So everybody, just to make it easier, this is something it was done for me to have it done on Sunday night. We're going back to, let me put this there. Here's the official word on how to do the AP poll. And I want as many people voting as possible. AP polls are due Monday night of every week. Double check with subsequent when that time is. I believe it's midnight Eastern. So 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday nights. That we can get this up to me and I can do my recording and we can get this put out to everybody. But please take time. Please vote. Be a participant, not just a consumer. Help people out. Let's get this accurate. But there's your top 25 Week 2 AP College Football Poll. Top 10 games to watch for Week 3. We have number 10, Tulsa, flying their way out to Virginia to play University of Virginia Saturday morning. Following that up with Boise State, who's now number 19, flying to Northern Illinois to take on Northern Illinois Saturday morning as well. In the afternoon slate, we get to see number 6, Baylor, taking on Cincinnati. Utah State flying all the way down to Tallahassee to see if Florida State's going to rebound or not. Number 8, Florida State is probably going to have a chip on the shoulder after losing to Tennessee, or they're just going to be totally defeated because they lost a tough game, and Utah State, if they're smart, can jump on top of it. So we'll see how it goes. Former Big Ten champion, Michigan State, is traveling down to Auburn. Told you we'd talk about them. They're at number 9 now, Saturday afternoon. That's the last one of our main games we see in the afternoon. And then evening, we got 3 games. We got number 24, Bowling Green, traveling up to Athens, Georgia, to play number 5, Georgia. Tough game. I know Sarge is a little concerned about that. I know PRP is a little concerned about that. That's going to be an interesting game between 2 very, very good human coaches. And then we see Arkansas travel down to Death Valley to play number 17 LSU that night. We'll see if the Death Valley is going to be rocking and being able to overcome the close loss they had last week. Or is Arkansas going to step up now that they're playing somebody of value and actually put up large numbers with their running back, Elijah Windlekin? And then number 21, Texas State, travels to Fort Worth to go play number 4, Texas Christian, to cap out the evening round. And then nighttime, Ball State gets the pleasure of traveling all the way over to UCLA to play number 2 UCLA Saturday night. And then the big game everybody's been talking about. I did a poll this week with all these games. This was the big game. Question was, who's going to win between Nebraska at number 7 California? 62% of the respondents said California is going to win, and they're saying California is going to win 38-28 over Nebraska Saturday night. So make sure you're paying attention to the Discord feed and see how this turns out. So that is our tips and games of the week. So let's get into the NFL. We had some stuff going on. We had 2 trades this last week. We saw Philadelphia trade their draft pick, Harrison Scott, I believe 6th-round draft pick, to Seattle for last year's 2nd-round quarterback Luke Trahan. And then my Tennessee Titans made a trade with Los Angeles Chargers, sending a 5th-round pick to pick up 4th-year inside linebacker Steven DeLucci. 2 trades we saw this week. I'll try to update those as they go. I know there's some rumors, there's some other ones going on, but I will not talk about rumors. I will only talk about facts that I saw. So week 2 games, we saw some good ones. So, my Titans had another overtime game, allowing 31 points, scoring 34 this time instead of 37. I'll take it. Win's a win. Tough Chicago team, but it is not a top game. In fact, there's only 2 games really to talk about. The first one, Philadelphia, tough one. Air raid teams 2 weeks in a row thought they had their defenses down. The bugaboo of the 4th down and the kicking issues pop up site-wide, all games, college and pro. But Vegas was able to overcome. Drop back, check the ball deep, speed everywhere. Who cares if you get sacked because you're going to pick it up in the next play, and was able to overcome beating Philadelphia 27-24. 2 losses by 4 points in 2 weeks. I know it's tough. Ace Wolf, you're doing a great job. Don't give up the fight. Still 15 games to go. And all you have to do is beat Washington once. That's all I ask for. Beat them once. Nothing against T. Sweezy, but it'd be nice for your confidence and for the league to see the defending Super Bowl champ lose to somebody, either you or Dallas. I don't think it's going to be New York. You or Dallas can probably step up and do this. You guys have the horses to take them on. But that was the second game. But the game everybody was talking about, nobody saw this coming other than JW. And that would be Kansas City playing Denver Broncos, the Super Bowl runner-ups. 13-21. Nobody expected that. Held the running game in check. Held the passing game pretty much in check. Was able, just couldn't convert on a couple plays. And then the kicking woes that were seen site-wide came up. But Kansas City played the defending AFC champions to an 8-point loss. That's a great job, JW 1952 TAX. And even better job by Alex to overcome that and have the depth to overcome that. But 2 great games that we saw last week. 2 amazing games that we saw last week. So to add a little bit more detail here, let's take a look at some of the highlights from last week. Through week 2, here is what we're looking at for offensive and defensive individual players. Offense, Philip Avila from Los Angeles Rams is leading passing right now with 939 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. John Knighton's leading rusher with 406 yards and 4 touchdowns for my Tennessee Titans. And then Daniel Elswick from Indianapolis, currently leading receiver at 470 yards and 2 touchdowns. 326 of those yards were against me week 1. I'm glad to see I can make this kid a household name. And then defensively, John Williams, inside linebacker from Indianapolis, 16 tackles. There's 4 players, I believe Cincinnati, Cleveland, Chargers. I can't remember the last one. Maybe Philly has players with all have 3 sacks. But I'm going to tell you right now, the person to watch out for is Cincinnati, everybody. They have got a tough team. They got a tough defense. And if you're throwing, you do not throw at Herbert Ferguson. The ball hawk cornerback, he has 8 interceptions in the season, and it's only week 2. You heard me right. Week 2, 8 interceptions. 1 player on 1 team. Don't throw at this guy. Just don't. Team-wise, go ahead, total offense, Tennessee Titans. 1,213 yards total offense, including 522 yards and 6 touchdowns rushing. Strong rushing attack, strong passing attack. I can tell you right now, we're dead last in defense. Pass defense, way beyond dead last. There's bad, good teams, average teams, bad teams, 50 feet of stuff, and then my defense for pass defense. We'll get that fixed. And then passing, Los Angeles Rams, 980 yards and 6 touchdowns. Defensively, no, this is not a misprint, people. I didn't mess this up. I didn't forget a number. Pittsburgh Steelers have the toughest rushing defense, coupled with probably one of the best secondaries. And they have limited their 2 opponents to a total of 18 yards rushing for 2 games. Not 18 yards per game, 18 yards total for 2 games. That's 9 yards per game. Yeah, I'm going to let that one sink in just a little bit. And then Green Bay, best pass defense technically right now at 270 yards passing against them. And then, like I said, Cincinnati. One person has 8 interceptions. All 8 turnovers for Cincinnati come through Herbert Ferguson. And they currently are, I think the next team was at 7 turnovers, but it was mostly it was a combination of interceptions and fumble recoveries. Cincinnati, 1 player, 8. If you can stay away from Herbert Ferguson, good luck. Let me know. I luckily don't play Cincinnati unless we meet in the playoffs again, and I would like to avenge that loss from last year. But that's going to be a tough one. They're set up to win and win now. So those are just some simple highlights for you from this week in the NFL. Week 3 primetime games. Thursday night, we see Tampa Bay traveling to Los Angeles to play the Rams. Sunday night, New England's flying their way down to South Beach in Miami to play the Dolphins, Sunday night football. And then Monday night, then Washington at Arizona. Sims NFL Week 3 primetime games. Thursday night, Tampa Bay at LA, Rams. Sunday night is going to be New England at Miami. And then Monday night football is Washington at Arizona. Right, so where to find the Simulation Football Association? You can find us on our website at www.simfba.com. That is www.simfba.com. Or on Discord, and you can see the identifiers there, and you will be able to find it in the descriptions below for those on audio. And to find the Wheels Off podcast, you can find them at all these locations here: Spotify, Podcast Addict, Pocket Cast, Deezer, Player FM, Podcast Index, and also at the https://wheelsoffpodcast.buzzsprout.com. You can go play all the episodes there as they get uploaded, and you can also find us on YouTube and Apple Music and as well. So once again, folks, thank you for coming and joining us, putting up with my learning curve as I get better at learning how to do podcasts and how to edit them. And like I always say, if you heard something here that you like, go share this with a friend. Get them to come join us on SimFBA.com. We have over 400 teams available between the various sports. We would love to see you come join this amazing community. And until then, I will see you on the flip side.
That's all, folks.